welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello everyone, welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. I think we already have an intro, so I don't really have to do the intro twice, but sure is fun singing that song. Where do we begin today? Wanted to give a shout out to our regulars in the YouTube audience. I gotta say, I don't give you guys shout outs enough, but in essence, you're almost like you regulars, and you know who you are. In fact, I just said hi to you guys. But it's really great having you regulars just always there. It's almost like you're a nice warm blanket. So great to see you guys in audience. Yep, hi Gilts, you're one of those too. We have a regular here on the Zoom call. He's like literally here for every meeting, but I have no idea what his real name is, and it drives me crazy every time I see his funny social media screen name, and I have no idea who this person is. But Mr. Insights is here in the audience. So anyway, great to see you here. And we all need to teach Mr. Insights who Gabby Hayes is, because I have a feeling I'm going to make Chris Gabby Hayes big. Anyway, that's an inside joke. I'm super excited. Actually, I haven't been really excited about a lot in my life of late, but something is coming down the pike here, which has actually got me quite enthusiastic about this funny thing called life here. So I'm super excited. As I said, I want to make Chris Gabby Hayes big if I can. Anyway, stay tuned, folks. It should be an interesting couple of years ahead for the Beamish and us making a positive difference in this world. I could see some big things coming down the pike here. So I've always wanted to create like an environment where if the world just absolutely shits on you, and the world certainly does poop on a lot of us here. I mean, you all know my story. I wish I had had somebody in my life when I was younger just wrap their arms around me the way that I would like to do for all of you. Anyway, so like I said, I'm actually quite enthusiastic about the future. Good part about it, actually, for all of you is we should be in a good, I don't know, maybe a year or two window here where things should be relatively friendly. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have a bunch of crypto millionaires made out of some of our participants on the site. One particular gentleman out of Sacramento, I think he is going to do extremely well here going forward. But then I think he already is doing very well. He's just he's a good person, and if anything, I think good Lord, Jojo, everybody else who's on the other side, who's who I don't mention on a regular basis. My old business partners, good old Willie. I don't know whether Willie's still alive or not. He was getting up there. Good old Bill. Hope you're doing well, Mr. Pake. Don't think about you as much as I really should. But I think they're all half the reason why I do this is to affect that positive change in the world. And seeing what I've done for Mr. Sacramento, you all probably know him around the site. I talk about him plenty. He's exactly why I did this. And what's beautiful is to watch the sort of drop the rock in the pond and watch the reverberation, watch the effect that I've had on him, and then he has that effect on others in his life. And actually, I don't know why, but man, we've got one hell of a contingent based out of Northern California. I have no idea why, but anyway, it is what it is. So rock on. Um, I have a lot of fun with them in the day trader room every morning. We're all trying to get our shit together and God, getting my day trader legs back under me. Jesus, it's a bit harder than I first imagined. Am profitable. Count is moving up, so that's a good sign. But since I came back from El Salvador, Jesus, my day trading has just been just kind of flat. Not really making money, not really losing money. But if you play this game for as long as I have, you have to understand that's the way this game goes. You will go through hot streaks, you will go through cold streaks, you will have things that happen in your life that make you feel like you're on top of the world. You will have things happen in your life that make you feel like there's really no point in even being alive. It's just this is this crazy game called life. If anything, what I think my big gift to all of you and to the universe here is not so much telling you, oh, buy that and you'll get rich, or sell that and yeah, you'll make a ton of money going short, whatever. I don't really think that that's my big calling. My big calling is, um, I hate losing money. I do not like losing money at all. In fact, everybody around the site knows how pissed off I got when I fell into a stupid fucking DeFi trap there a month or so ago and had $3,000 stolen from me, which just has made me it's just sick to my stomach. I do not like losing money. So as a result, I was a professional financial advisor for many years, right? And people actually paid me as their broker to keep them out of trouble. Brian, what am I supposed to do here so I don't lose money? So as a result, I think I know the rules, and I know the basic framework for how the professionals actually play this game with the actual expectation of making money from this. Whereas most of the public comes into this crazy game and they don't have a clue what they're doing and they end up getting wiped out and then you never hear from them again. So, with that said, my gift is just simply that try and be the demonstrator of best practices and try and just convey to you the rules. And believe it or not, there are actually rules to this game of speculating. And ironically enough, there's not a hell of a lot of difference between the rules of speculating and the rules of good investing. It's just really a question of your time frame. Speculators trade off of like hourly charts, 30-minute charts, 15-minute charts, 5-minute charts, 1-minute charts. Or Mr. Sacramento, he's a killer trader off of 1-minute charts. It's cool to watch him in action. And the investors, they work off of weekly charts. God, how many times have you heard me say weekly W's? Ah! And so, hell, I've worked with some guys in Wall Street that trade off of quarterly charts, monthly charts. Right? And they only make investment decisions off of those kind of time frames. So anyway, the point of the matter is the rules actually don't really change a heck of a lot. They haven't really changed probably in the past 100 years. Two rules of investing. And if you don't know the rules, write them down. Rule number one, try and trade with some sort of algorithmic approach. The easiest way for you to remember it is if, then, else. Boolean logic. And how many ifs should we have if we're ever thinking about, risking our hard-earned money in the marketplace? There is actually a very specific number of ifs that need to be in that if, then, else statement. It's really straightforward. It's not rocket science. The thing is nobody ever wants to follow the damn rules. So rule number one, follow your if, then, else statement. And then rule number two is don't be greedy. Be conservative. Take a risk first approach. You should have a very specific amount of money, of your hard-earned money, that you are going to risk on any one idea. And you cannot risk more than that. And ideally, if you're an investment advisor, you want that number to be about 5%. With the futures traders and those kind of like lower time frame players, makes perfect sense. That we take a fraction of that number, maybe like 1%, 2%. And then that way you can be in there constantly taking setups, taking setups, taking setups. But rule number 2 is don't ever risk more than 5% of the money that you have to work with on any one single play. And ironically enough, I just gave you the secret to how this game works. I just gave it to you. So we can end the video there. Have yourselves a great day. We're done. Believe it or not, that's it. Those are the rules. And of course, I actually got hooked up with this guy about 5-10 years ago. And the guy who he actually bought me this mug. He had it actually made up and everything. And I literally drink out of it every single day. And if you can somehow try and remember those, 6 letters, they'll keep you out of a lot of trouble too. Because it's really, really easy. God, even you hear me falling down the rabbit hole. My God, do you want me to go off on a half-hour, 45-minute rant about my idiot political leader in my country and how he's literally destroying the country right in front of my eyes? And it's intentional. That's the plan. The plan is to destroy these countries in their former form because they don't serve the Rothschilds, bankster, crooks, oligarchs' interests. But just try and keep these 6 letters in mind while we're going through this insanity. What do you do? The good part about what we do here, theoretically, if you learn the rules of the game and you know how to play the game correctly, we should be able to make enough money that none of this crap even means anything. The issue here, though, and this is the hardest part about this whole game, is we move in these 4-year cycles. And through, like I've shown you the Bitcoin seasonal chart. I think I have that on here somewhere. Where is it? It's this one. No, not that one. I know I have it on one of these. Where on earth did I put it? This is the problem with having too many tabs open, is when you want to go and find a chart really quickly, you never can. I thought I had it in here, but I don't know. Maybe I don't. Actually, no. Oh, darn. Oh, well, I know I have it on the, actually, I suppose we could probably just load it up here. Macro. God, I got so many of these 4-year cycles. I'm not quite sure which one is the most recent one that I did. It's kind of a shame. Might be this. Well, let's see what happens if I load this one. Survey says. What's gonna load? Yeah, there we go. So it's very difficult when we're going through the fall and winter to try and keep this PMA stuff going, because you got to just sit there and you got to basically do nothing while you wait for the stupidity to play itself out. But once we go on bottom and then we get into spring, this chart right here is basically right here. But this is what we have in front of us, folks. I mean, this should be one hell of a market here going forward. I've just superimposed the 15-16 cycle because I think that's the cycle that we're in right now. But even if I just take that off, I don't know what the future is going to hold for us, but it does look like there's a lot of, sort of upward push here. And we are into that seasonally very friendly window. So as I said there just a moment ago, I'm super excited about a project that I've been trying to put together for probably about 5 years now. Um, I did contemplate doing it over in Europe, but I don't think it's going to work there. Um, can't do it in Chinada because of what the hell they've done here, hyperinflation wise. But there is one spot that has got me very, very excited. So over the next couple years, as we sort of build out this whole crypto space, I actually do fully expect to see a number of millionaires made out of our TRI community. And a lot of, ironically enough, a lot of the sort of regulars that follow this, Broiler Chicken Show and all that kind of stuff. Um, this is your window, folks. This is what you've been waiting for. What I find fascinating is usually we get a lot of new people that pour into TRI through the summer season, and it just makes sense. I mean, the sad part about it, public always gets most interested in this stuff at the top of the market. Public is nowhere to be found at the bottom of the market. And usually, what ends up happening is we get a ton of new people all pouring into TRI. Of course, we tout about, oh, look at all the money we've made, $500 into whatever number. I mean, what's really interesting is I've sort of downloaded the crypto investment, like serious money, onto a TRI CTO, who I think is probably one of the smartest crypto analysts I've met in 10 years being in this space. So I have 100% confidence in him. And in fact, we're even thinking about even getting a fund up and running. He's that good, and sprinkle in my sort of best practices. And I think we could actually really do some serious damage with a cute little crypto fund. I mean, to all intents and purposes, we do have a crypto fund at TRI working right now. And if you do want to know the names that he's interested in investing in, and we have, not past tense, present tense. That's this matrix that I follow all the line charts. These are the ones that I think are excellent fundamental picks. And then we want to sprinkle in, like I said, Brian's 3 reasons for a trade, grid risk management, and making sure to pay yourself when these things actually do perform. And I think we've got quite a winning formula here. So interestingly enough, I don't know. I'm almost feeling like today's a bit of a cathartic day. I have 100% confidence in this community, 100% confidence in my business partners. In fact, I was really impressed with Julian's presentation on Thursday. Thursdays is his day at TRI, and I like it because Tuesdays is Fjord's day. So we should have a number of different perspectives for you all to learn by. We also have new analysts joining the team. Sunny, who I've been talking about at length, also out of Northwestern Europe. I don't know whether, I think he's out of Belgium, though. I don't think he's out of Netherlands. But anyway, that's here nor there. I gotta tell you, things are looking pretty darn slick. And one thing I really do like is that this is the opportunity here. We are in this window now where, unfortunately, the people that sort of chased the market there in the spring, remember Gucci sweater wearers and all that nonsense. I think a lot of them have been flushed out of the market here with us going sideways. What are we going sideways here now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 weeks. Ooh, lucky 13. In fact, you could even really argue 14 weeks. But let's stick with 13. Lucky 13, right? So I do think that a lot of the fluff in the crypto space, especially with regard to things like Bitcoin, has been flushed out. And if anything, what I'm seeing is the attention in this space is being sort of focused towards things like meme coins, which really aren't classic crypto. They are an excellent function of the speculative part of the market. And then there's that, the roaring kitty guy, I mean, hats off to him. Great trade there on his GME. I mean, he's going to make more money than all of us put together. I will say, I mean, for the record, I deal in much smaller numbers, and I often talk to people. I like to say, look at if I can't demonstrate how to do this with small numbers, then I got no business dealing with large numbers. But I found fascinating about this move here, and it's interesting how, because this is Orca, I don't know what this is. But what was really interesting was my 60x order. So I bought down here. In fact, actually, I think I can show you over here on this bird eye. Although I don't know I don't know how to do this. Anyway, I'm not very smart at any of this stuff. Uh, Come on, you. One thing I don't know whether you guys have noticed this, but bird eye is really, really slowed down quite a bit lately, eh? This is not working now. What the hell's going on here? Anyway, one thing I do like about bird eye is they put their little bubbles right over where you bought and sold, so I can show you. You can see visually where I did a trade. But Jesus, bird eye it's not. I don't know. I mean, I hear a lot of people saying this bird eye's crashing a lot lately and stuff. So anyway, you
If
can see.
you leave the tab open long enough, it'll give you some problems. I would recommend closing the tab and then reopening the tab and just starting
Yeah,
fresh.
just kill it, eh? I wanted to just leave this on here so you could see what I was doing with that Kramer guy. Which is kind of funny. I mean, that's a whole funny story unto itself. How do I get this stupid thing to stop? Oh, there it goes. Now what the hell is it doing? Jesus, what a mess. Look at that. It's just a mess. You know what? I'm just gonna close it. I do, and a big shout out to Dan, who oh God, now what am I doing here? I hate when I do this. I've got like 20 different things going on in my brain, and I try to do these shows live, and I think that this is where I'm failing. This is why a lot of the time these videos don't get a lot of views, is because I'm just off on like 10 different tangents half the time. So my apologies. If anything, I will say that I am starting to warm to the idea that maybe we just stop these live broadcasts going forward, and we do like pre-recorded messages for you guys, because I don't think that this live stream thing is achieving the results I was hoping would happen originally. Anyway, okay, let's see whether this silly thing will load here. What I wanted to show you guys was the fact that I missed my fill. This thing even traded beyond my price. Yeah. So my next, so the wallet there theoretically is loaded. It's not showing the trades. That's a little bit of a piss off. Usually it shows these cute little bubbles right over. Oh, there we go. So there's where I'm long. So ironically enough, I actually bought this GameStop actually exactly the same time that Mr. Roaring Kitties bought his positions. Selling, and this was like 10x what I bought at, which is so funny. And then this is 20x. Actually, no, is that 20? I don't know what number that is. That's 8. Yeah, 20. So I had my next order, and you can see that that was 17. I had my next order working at 34. And look at the high there, 38. So there should be another red bubble up here. And that's, I think that was like 60x. Because I'm not quite sure how I did this. Maybe 40x. I don't know. But anyway, so I was a little bit choked about that. Now, the interesting thing about this is that his options actually expire next Friday. And we actually looked at this on the daily brief on Friday. I won't pull up the numbers here, but the big monthly expiry is the 21st, third Friday of the month. So this thing still has 2 weeks. Don't discount it. I don't think this trade's over by a long shot. I think, maybe things got a little bit carried away there. in the short term. And then he had his big sort of social media event. I think it was like 500,000 people or something following or watching the video. But I still have my open order working here at 34, and I still expect to get my fill. So we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. But I deal in very small numbers. As I said, I told you guys the 2 rules of investing. So based on the actual size of this little, demonstration account over here on Solana, you should know exactly how much money I put into this thing. And yep, got paid nicely and just going to slowly compound this account up. We started with $500 back there in January, and it's just slowly working its way higher. And this is what I do. And this is the irony of this silly game, is that the dollar figures don't mean anything to me. This is just purely just a function of percentages. And I thought it was interesting, and this is what I wanted to mention to you. Like, there's no way in hell I could buy something like this here now. Can't touch that at all. But what I am very interested in is this Kramer, which is so ironic, of course, because this guy's like absolutely hated in this space. But this is actually a setup that we even teach in the school program called the shark setup, where you hunt market structure of 78.6s and you just buy the double bottoms at or below 78.6. So you can see I got my bids working. The only problem is I did publicly announce that, yes, I am going to be in here bidding and buying up Mr. Kramer. So what a surprise. Like literally after I mentioned that, they just take the market away from that level. There's no way in hell they're going to give Beamish his happy-go-lucky fills there, bastards. So I just have to wait for a little bit more weakness. And I'm not in a hurry. If I miss a trade, I miss a trade. So fucking what? Next bus in 10 minutes, as they say. So point here is that I think that ironically enough, this is where actually a lot of the market activity is right now. You saw that GME and all this kind of craziness, right? And ironically enough, this doesn't really have a hell of a lot to do with like crypto per se. I mean, it's not even really crypto. I think these are just like there's no fundamental value to this token. I don't think there's any fundamental value to this whatsoever. I don't even think there's any fundamental value to the stock itself. What's so ironic is like this is the stockbroker talking to you, or what we used to call broke stalkers. But if you actually wanted to apply some fundamental analysis to this stock, I mean, it's almost laughable. So this stock's trading at what's that, 6 times book value. Value for me is a stock trading below book value. So there's a problem. If it actually does have earnings, it's trading at 346 times earnings, which, classic value stocks traded like under 10 times earnings. I remember for the longest time, Apple traded under 10 times earnings. And that was when we first got the TRI website up and running. And for the longest time, Apple in the sort of 2015, 16, 17 market was actually considered a value stock because it was trading at like 9 times earnings. How ironic, eh? Then, of course, it went just absolutely crazy there. Be interesting to see what Apple is trading at now. I think it's pretty expensive. Yeah, 30 times earnings. Ironically enough, actually, that's actually a pretty typical high growth, high beta stock. 2.92 times price to earnings growth, though. But if you are a growth investor, you really want to try and buy a less than 2 times PEG. So you can see that's in red. And FinViz is trying to tell you, that's a pretty high number. Be careful. Trading 40 times book. Oh my God, this is nuts. So the book value of the stock is $4.85. So this is where these valuations just make no sense whatsoever. What's shocking about Apple now is look at the amount of debt that they're carrying. What the? Oh my God. That's horrific. This number right here probably makes Steve Jobs roll over in his grave. That's terrible. Alpo's got no business whatsoever carrying that kind of debt. They do their shareholders a favor and pay down that debt. That's ridiculous. So this number here alone would mean there's no way in hell I could ever invest in this company. Never, 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 never. Do not, like sadly, our whole society these days, and this is a whole conversation unto itself, but sadly, our whole society has been set up by these bankster crooks that we live in this you must be up to your eyeballs in debt kind of world, which is terrible. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm losing my hair, but not a hell of a lot of gray. And I'm in my 50s, so I mean, it's not too. Where's the camera? It's not too bad, but I do not like debt. I hate debt. I'll never invest in companies that are heavily indebted. I don't carry any debt whatsoever, and that's Scout's truth, right? No credit card debt, no personal debt, no mortgages, no car loans. I own my car outright. It's one of those big fancy Toyota Corollas, but it's relatively new and it does the job. And Liam likes it. It's got a good stereo system, nice sunroof, air conditioned, drives pretty well. 100% bought and paid for. So, when I see something like this is actually setting this company up for eventual ruin. This will come back to haunt Apple down the road. That's terrible. That much debt. Really, Apple computer, they got no business running that kind of debt. That's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Anyway, totally different topic, totally different conversation. Sorry about that. Okay, I should try and get back on track. What the hell am I supposed to be talking about here? We are, Chris and I put together this newsletter and I really like it. I think it's doing very, very well to sort of articulate what it is that I do in the marketplace on a regular basis. And also I think it's a pretty good, my question is, where the hell did I put it? Not over here. Nope. Where did I put the damn newsletter? I thought I had it over here. Although I might have, maybe I was over here. Hey, there it is. So, first things first, let's review sort of what happened this past week and maybe put this stuff into context. Told you guys repeatedly, and of course, any level oneers who are watching this, it might be difficult to absorb the message right out of the gate, but it's probably going to take some time for you to sort of, fully appreciate what it is I'm trying to teach you. We are in the greed part of the cycle. Actually, that might be a good opportunity to load up that old chart. We haven't looked at that in a while. I think this might be it. Let's see what we got here. So in the greed cycle, this should be all about growth. Grow, 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 grow. We want to see the world grow. And if we look at things like the Dow, here is that greed fear cycle kind of conversation. This is going back to 1912. So you can see this was the so it's curious what the name of this generation is. It's the post-US Civil War generation, the children that were born through what's called the Gilded Age. And interestingly enough, actually, it would be very similar to the millennials kind of generation. Roaring 20s, and in this particular generation, the politicians that were in charge of the United States of America, they weren't owned by the bankster crooks. And in fact, you could make the argument that the bankster crooks actually took over the system in 1913, 1914, right in here. And at this point, the bankster crooks didn't control the system. And the people that were in charge of the United States of America kind of were like, look at, if you get involved in borrowing money and playing the market on margin and you lost money, well, it's your own fault, you stupid idiots. What are you doing going out and borrowing money and then, squandering it in the stock market? And frankly speaking, you shouldn't have any empathy for these people. You should have none. These are people who are gambling and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So they end up going and buying on margin, chasing yesterday's story. It's always the same. And oh, by the way, every damn Bitcoin cycle, it's always the same. Is anybody listening over on YouTube? This time it's what? How many times have, just even while I've been doing these videos, I could tell you at least 4 or 5 times I've heard that statement out of the Bitcoin story, and like within a month or two, the whole fucking market collapses. Can anybody finish that statement? This time it's what? So I know that you all know that, as soon as I hear that statement, you know that the idiots are coming in and they're acting like stupid fools. And I'm trying to be PMA about all this. Let's try and, make a positive difference in this world by ramming this shit down all of your throats. There's an image for you. So this is exactly the same thing, right? And what's so sad is you open up the history books and they call this the Roaring Twenties and all that. And oh my God, we're all going to get rich playing the stock market. And what ends up happening? Kaboom. And the worst part about this is that the gentleman who is in charge of the United States of America, the president at that point, was sort of like, you stupid bankster idiots, because it's the bankster's fault that this happened. Why? Because it takes two to tango here, folks. Yes, it takes somebody going and borrowing the money to play the market and bid stock prices up, or crypto. It doesn't really matter. It's just that this public being speculative. But there's another side to this equation. Somebody has to lend them that money. So it takes two to dance. When I was a kid, and keep in mind, I have a pretty salty attitude, and I fully understand that there are a lot of people in this world that just do not like me. And I used to get into a lot of sort of, fights in grade school and stuff. And the teachers would always pull me out, right? And the other person. And I'd be like, well, that guy did that, he was the one who swung. And they'd always say, Brian, it takes two to dance. You must have said something to trigger the guy. Whatever, or girl or houseplant or whatever. So interestingly enough, I would actually not fault the public, because we all have to understand, and I think this is super important, everybody. And all of you that are watching, ironically enough, you people that are watching, and I can see who it is, a lot of you are regulars. You are not the public anymore. Adam, Nore, Constantine, DMAC, snowboarding JJ, Guilt, right? Mr. Glass Insights, Chris. I mean, ironically enough, you guys, you're not actually the problem. It's the public, the people that don't listen to these damn broadcasts. The 500,000 people watching that stupid fucking Roaring Kitties nonsense. And it's so funny, the classic media, they said, GME stock collapses after Roaring Kitties endless rants, or there was some sort of headline, something along the lines that they got the impression that this Roaring Kitty guy just went on endlessly, just babbling and not really saying anything, just trying to keep the conversation going, which I do find hilarious. But why the 500,000 people following that? That doesn't make any sense. So that all those 500,000 people are exactly these people here who bid the stock market up. And the guy who is in charge of the United States of America, bless his heart, and of course, the banksters, they were the ones that lent the money. And he just said, look at, you go and lend money and these people can't pay you back. Ironically enough, it's not really the public's fault. It's your fault, you stupid bankster crooks. And oh, by the way, they did exactly the same thing to us right here. Exactly the same damn thing. And in fact, I'd even make the argument that they did it here. And I remember I used to trade with this one guy, Brandon, and he used to pass around a most wanted sign. You know, those wanted by the, back in the Western days. And I had a picture of Alan Greenspan because Alan Greenspan was actually the first person who started this whole reverse repo thing, basically bailing out the banks for lending the public money. And then when the market broke, of course, the banks were like, well, we don't want to lose our money because we don't lose money. We're too big to fail. All that bullshit. So this is what should have happened through the fear part of this cycle. But oh no, because the banksters took over this society, they're not going to let this happen. And interestingly enough, through this, you can see that it's actually a very normal, healthy cycle. We grow, and then as that generation moves out of the economy, we regress and they go into retirement, and then we start the game again. But then something happened here, and this is tricky Dick, where basically it was, and you always see those, what happened in 1971, right? If you were wondering what happened, well, right here, the politician that was in charge of the United States of America at this point, he said, oh man, I'm not going to be the next Herbert Hoover, and we better do something to prevent the market from rolling over. And that was right here. So ironically enough, oh, what a surprise, it was a Republican president too. Richard Nixon took the Americans off the gold standard. And this was the start of the unwinding. What we live in here, this world here, it was first put into place by the banksters taking over the system here. At this point, they were still subject to the old world economy. By the time we got to here, the politicians that said, look at you speculated in the market and you lose money, it's your own fucking fault. The Great Depression happened. The banksters made damn sure that everybody felt the pain. In fact, the guy that was in power, he got run out of Washington, and the political party that was in power here, the Republicans, they could not get elected back to office again, ironically enough, until way over here. The Democrats, under the guy who's leading the political party down in the States right now, same party, they basically made a deal with the banksters and said, look, just please, for God's sake, start lending money again. Yeah, okay, fine, we'll play your debt game, we'll be your bitches, but please lend money. And in essence, the world that we live in started here. And we continue to this day to live in this. The economy must grow. It has no choice. It must grow because we're all up to our eyes in debt. We can't even imagine the amount of debt that is out there right now. And if this thing does not grow, then the whole damn house of cards just falls apart like that. So in environments, especially through this fear cycle, the only way to get this to grow was to start turning on that goddamn money printing press. Right? And so what does that look like? You all know this. I mean, this isn't really anything new. Where's our money printing press, right? And I love to show you this because, I mean, it's just such a sad commentary on our society. Where is the, I don't know whether I should label it green face Powell or something like that. No, this is actually, this is not the one that I wanted to load. This is a cool chart unto itself, but let's see if I can just God, where am I gonna do this? When I try and do this so quickly, it never works quickly. Maybe it's this one. There we go. So you can see here is 1971. Economies, actually, I only go back to 59. So here is basically the 70s right here. This is where 1971, what changed? Took us off the gold standard, and on starts the money printing. And unfortunately, here we are now. And, the sad part about this is that once you let this genie out of the bottle, there's no way to stop this. These jerks, they will keep printing money until the system breaks. And then as soon as the system breaks, you mysteriously find that this guy's now working for People's Bank of China. Is that the next world hegemony currency? Might just be. I doubt it, but you never know. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be like a basket of a whole bunch of different assets, where Bitcoin might even be in the basket. Who knows? But you can definitely see the days of us just relying on the U.S. currency to be the world hegemony. I think those days are numbered. The sad part about this, though, is that all the other Western civilization countries, they have also been sucked down this terrible, terrible rabbit hole. So the banksters have won, and when the banksters sucked every ounce of life out of the British pound, what did they do? They said, all right, fuck you, British pound. We're heading over. And now the United States of America is the world hegemony currency. And, you poor British people, you don't like it? Suck it. Nothing you can do about it. And look at what the Rothschilds did to Germany. Same sort of thing, So anyway, that's the backdrop of the world that we're living in. And I think the important thing about where we are now, and this is the hard part for a lot of people, I think, right now, is that you people are all sort of still stuck in what does the world look like through this fear cycle, right? You think of the great financial crisis, which I think was just a load of horse shit. You think of Barack Obama and the universal health care plan, which I think is just gonna, it will go the way of the dodo. You think of George Bush Jr. and manufactured wars and the Middle East and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we're in that world anymore. We're in a very different world now, and we're also going through the Jupiter Saturn cross, the 6 different celestial events. But I think the most important thing for you all to realize here is that we're back into the growth world. So through this whole period, this fear cycle period, this was like the anti-growth world, where things like these jerks had to print money like crazy just to keep the damn system going. The market had to grow, right? We all know the debt clock, right? And once this debt clock hits, and this is what's scary about a lot of these countries in the world, is once you hit 100% debt to GDP, the system starts to break. So right now, even though those numbers are absolutely horrific, you can see debt to GDP is under 100%. But, like Japan, debt to GDP has been staggeringly high for a long time. Look at it, sitting at 300% GDP. And what's happened to the Japanese currency? It's absolutely collapsing. It's literally collapsing on a daily basis. So, and, that doesn't bode well for these idiots down here. Because notice, at least with Japan, it's not so bad. Their external debt is actually less than the public debt, like internally. But in China, Both of these numbers are comfortably above 100% GDP. And keep in mind that Canada gets a huge amount of its revenues on an annual basis from commodity exports. We're not in a commodity bull cycle anymore, which is ironic because you're all like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Have you seen the price of gold? Have you seen the price of silver? I would actually argue that actually a lot of these commodities, the reason why you're seeing the price go up is more a function of this than it is of actually it being in a commodity bull market. I would actually argue that we're in a commodity bear market. And you know, the irony of the gold or the oil price is that we're still nowhere near where George Bush and all of his crony crooks took this market. Let's see if I can show you that. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. If you look at it, like we'll just do like oil versus M2. You think oil prices are high now? This is almost funny when you look at it. So we'll go CL1 exclamation mark divided by M2. Now you tell me, are oil prices high right now? Let's call a spade, folks. They're not high at all. This was George Bush Jr.'s nonsense, right? And I might even argue that these bastards knew about these fear greed cycles. This was greed over here. The easiest way for you to remember greed is think blowjobs in the White House. If people are so distracted by having sex and sex scandals and stuff like that, then you know we're in a greed cycle. And then sadly, this is the fear cycle. And in the fear cycle, this is actually where people prefer hard assets, commodity assets. And I think that George Bush, and really I would argue George Bush Sr., I don't think George Bush Jr. actually, you don't want to be too insulting, but I don't think George Bush Jr. was actually a very smart individual. In fact, he even made a public gaffe years after the Iraq war. He even said, he was trying to say something about a war that Trump was getting into, or even Obama or something like that. And he actually publicly came out and said, total Freudian slip. There was no reason whatsoever for justification to invade Iraq. And the interviewer said, what did you just say, sir? And he's like, oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. Oops, Mr. Freud, paging Mr. Freud. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is that actually I think through the Bush presidency, there was your commodity bull cycle. They totally front run it. This commodity cycle was supposed to go on through to 2017, but Bush and all their damn cronies, they all basically bid the market up to absolutely insane levels through his presidency. And then ironically enough, the next guy that came along, Obama, he spent 8 years just trying to clean up the mess. So go figure, right? Oh, well. Is that what it was, Adam? Adam remembers that was Russia invading Ukraine. And he publicly said there's no reason for it. And frankly speaking, I mean, if you look back in history, it makes no sense what that whole made up war, 9/11, all that crap. I mean, it's staggering how brutally corrupt the whole damn thing was. But what can you do about it? So anyway, the point of the matter here is that this was actually jacked up. This was way too early. The cycle was supposed to pivot here. So I might make the argument, ironically enough, I don't know whether we're going to see oil negative again here, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're trapped in some sort of range that this thing just bumps around down here for quite a while. And it just goes to show, you see $70, $80 oil, but that's not very high at all. So tragic. So anyway, another conversation for another day. I'm not quite sure how I got off on that tangent. But anyway, so coming back to our newsletter here. The point of this fear greed cycle, like that was the whole point of talking about this originally, is that this actually is a US dollar bullish cycle here. This is a US economy bullish cycle. This is a bullish commentary on the millennial generation coming online and going from their relatively young years. And I can see all of you coming along. Chris is a really good example. Adam over there, you're a great example of this generation. You guys are all trying your darndest, and basically you're going to spend the next 10, 20 years of your lives just basically learning the ropes of how this society works and slowly building businesses, building wealth. By the time you get to my age, you will be reaching your peak earnings years, and the economy should be absolutely booming. And then, the interesting thing is that this is an incredibly consistent cycle. We know that probably into about 2035, that's when this cycle will pivot. Now, keep in mind that where are we? We're 2024. So that's 11 years of this ahead of us. Keep in mind, there's going to be blips along the way. This is the 1987 crash right there. This was like when Kennedy was assassinated. You don't even see that event there. This was like LBJ and the Korean War. Actually, no, I think that's a Korean War. This is Kennedy getting whacked. This is Vietnam and all that. Or actually, no, actually, you know what? I stand corrected. This is the greed cycle. This is the greatest generation's greed cycle. So this would be like probably like the Berlin airlift. Right? This is probably like the Korean War. This would be 61 there here. This is Kennedy's assassination right here. And this is sort of the beginning of the Vietnam War and LBJ's sort of war on poverty, which was just an absolutely ridiculous spending of money. And that's what initiated the next sort of fear cycle. So sorry, got those historical references wrong. Point of the matter here is this is the greatest generation, and you can see that's them coming online following the Great Depression. And this is the baby boomers coming online, and that's them following Jimmy Carter. And I might even argue that, we had some absolute insanity through this fear cycle peak. This fear cycle peak, I don't know whether I can show you that. Although, I don't want to get off on too much pretenders. Yeah, I've already been blabbing away for an hour, so that's too bad. Okay, so let's get back to what we're supposed to be talking about. I can't believe I wasted a fucking hour there. Damn it. Oh well. Anyway, did any of you guys get any value out of that? I hope you guys got some value out of that. So the point of the matter here is that we are seeing the countries around the world that should actually start to see problems. Europe should be very difficult for the next 10, 15 years. Oh, that's good. A couple of you say yes. No, that's good. Chinada, especially as a commodity proxy. You saw the oil price there. How do you think Chinada is doing, considering that Chinada gets a good chunk of its national revenue from oil? You think Chinada is doing pretty well here? Now, the interesting thing is if you actually look at the Chinese currency, it doesn't look so good, folks. I mean, I can never remember what the damn symbol is. I think they do this half the time to try and confuse you so you can't pull up the damn symbol. Is it 6? It's gotta be one of these fucking symbols. Well, what happens if I go Canadian 6C? God, I never remember what these. Okay, so do you see how the Chinese currency hit its peak when oil was at its peak there? See that? Oil nice and peaky. Chinese currency kind of peaky. Does that look like something you want to go and buy? I wouldn't touch this piece of shit currency with a 10-foot pole. I got to tell you, this has got disaster written all over it. You want to see an absolutely insane downside projection, which I think is completely real. This is everything that I try and teach you all. What chart pattern is this starting to look like? Whenever you see me draw a single line like that, instantly you should be like, oh, Jesus, he's drawing this. And I'll make it even easier for you. I will do there to there, and I will go there, and there you can see the damn answer. This thing has got disaster written all over it. And the worst part about it is this is my country. And the worst, I think the worst part about this is if I publicly talk about what a train wreck this currency is, I think I could actually be arrested by the commie dictator bastard who's in control of my country right now. And he was a minority elected government. He didn't even have a mandate by the population. That's the worst part about this. He's a minority freaking leader, and he's driving my country into the ground. Can you see where I'm going with this? Let's do some guesses on YouTube. Just eyeballing this, and Great Dal Moody, you're like that smart trader dude now, running your own. Well, anyway, what's you all should look at this and go, oh Jesus, look at that damn target. Let's see if you guys can come up with the downside projection that this thing is actually projecting now on YouTube, right? And we'll go like this, and then we'll go like this, and then we'll go like this, and whoa, that's the bullish scenario. We wish we were bullish. Let's flip that around. And oh, look at that. You can even see this is exactly where we're supposed to be short. Now, where the hell's the damn target on this thing? And does my dear communist goofball leader call this hate speech because I hate what he's done to my country? And does he throw me in jail? Take some guesses. Chris, where do you think the bot objective is here? Let's just take some guesses. Glass Insights, where do you think the bottom is here on this damn thing? Oh God, I can't even, I'm almost afraid to look. All right, nobody wants to guess. Well, let's see what we got. Bingo, there it is. 45. And we're right now sitting at 72. Holy crap. And it's just sitting there. And if things get really bad, all you students of mine, of course, know that this is an AB equals CD price projection. But sometimes these turn into alt ABCDs, which means that the price objective is 1.618. Where the hell is that? Holy Shiite Muslim. And yeah, it probably means that our country is being run by Shiite Muslims. 21. Oh, God. Now, here's another thing that we could do up top here. Why don't we do a Foggenbaum off of this big M structure? Anybody who's on the site recently knows that I spent quite a bit of time trying to explain why I use this particular range, because this is in essence where the bulls and bears go to war. And interestingly enough, you can see the bears won. So we are going to use the bull's corpse to actually measure how bad's going to get. How do you do that? Well, you just do a Foggenbaum projection off of that range. This is the bull's corpse that we are carving up here, stomping on. That'll get these social media influencers talking or something. I doubt it. Let's see where the hell this takes us. Boom. Oh, no. 2.618. 29. And you know what's really scary about this image is that there was a country that went through exactly the same thing about 40 years ago here in the northern hemisphere of North America. Does anybody know what country that is? And if you don't, and you're Chinadese, you better pull up your Mexican peso history book, because you can see it looks like history is about to repeat itself. Isn't that insane? God damn. That's a total. And remember that this is a function of oil prices, right? Remember, my dear leader in my country right now, he wants to put the oil business out of business. Well, what happens if you put the oil business out of business and your number one export from your country is oil? Does that not mean you put your country out of business? Does he understand the powers that he's flirting with here? I don't think half the Canadians realize how dangerous this situation is. And there's not a damn thing we can do about it because he doesn't even listen to his population. He doesn't listen to his market. He listened to some fucking German over in Europe talking about how, hey, it'd be a good idea if all the Canadians just ate bugs. That would be a great society, wouldn't it? That's a bad looking chart. I'll tell you that much, by crackers. Wow. All right. Well, it sure got off on a tangent there. Anyway, point of the matter here is, and I've been barking at all of you for like the past 4 or 5 years. Canada is a short. All commodity countries are shorts. Do not touch them. 4 or 5 years ago, was it a good idea to go and buy Russia? Oh, God, what a disaster. I mean, anyway, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So what's really interesting is that, and I like this from our perspective here, is that not only do we see it from the fear greed cycle. So that's sort of like our, we see these cycles and, this kind of like reading the tea leaves. Crystal ball says, well, it looks like the US dollar should go up. We're in a bullish cycle. But what's sort of the fundamental justification? And I think it's just simply put, the US economy is doing pretty darn good. Where is NVIDIA based? Is NVIDIA a European company? I think NVIDIA is an American company, isn't it? I think it is. Could be mistaken. So, USA, if you want to buy into NVIDIA, then that means theoretically you have to buy US dollars. You have to take those US dollars and you have to buy this stock in US dollars. All right. How about Microsoft? Where's Microsoft? Oh, it's an American company too. You want to buy Microsoft, you've got to buy US dollars. You have to buy the stock in US dollars. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on, right? Amazon, same thing. So in our growth environment here, and interestingly enough, it'll be interesting to see whether Apple actually stays an American company or whether it actually does relocate to China. I'm not quite sure what the story is there. But actually, you know what I'm hearing? The guys who are all rah AI, they're saying that actually, you know what? What's going to end up happening now is Apple is going to have a whole brand new hardware cycle for the consumers to buy, because you're going to have AI powered devices or AI powered applications on your cell phone. And that's going to take much stronger, powerful computing. So as a result, it's going to drive a whole new product cycle for companies like Apple. I suppose you could argue Samsung will do fairly well. Be interesting to see whether there's many other hardware manufacturers for these devices. I suppose, it's interesting to see. I would like to see Intel actually wake up here. I think Intel is a sleeping giant. I really do. And it would be interesting if Intel actually could wrap its head around this AI and build a chip or something that was directed towards that. They might be able to resurrect themselves, because this is a one company I really do like it. I've got stink bids working down in the 20s here to buy this thing, but it basically has not. You can't even see the long-term chart on this anymore. Isn't that interesting? But it's basically not even performed here over the past 30 years. maybe there's better bets, but I have a feeling Intel's a sleeping giant. But the point here is it's an American company. So actually, interesting side to that, we were talking about the Dow and fear greed cycles. I actually think, this is the bastard you got to be watching out for, the NASDAQ stock market for the next 100 years. That used to be the big sales pitch way over here. I remember this used to be the sales pitch of why you wanted to be on the NASDAQ. So here we are over here. And you see where this projection, and it looks like it's a pretty consistent projection. It wants to take us all the way up here. So here we are on the NASDAQ at 17,000. At the end of this cycle, we should be about 10x where we are even now. So that's what's going to drive this thing. Ironically enough, it's not going to be, oh, you know what? I want to go buy the US dollar because I want to go buy their T-bills because the US government's so awesome. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with that. It's going to be, I want to invest in these growth stocks. And the only way to invest in the growth stocks is I got to buy the currency to actually buy the underlying, right? And this was the dot-com boom when everybody had to buy US dollars to go and buy Microsoft and Intel and all those names through the dot-com boom. I don't even know where the hell the top of the market is here now. What I was going to show you earlier, and it's kind of funny that I have this on now, is we just went through the fear cycle, and the fear cycle is all about anti-establishment. And what I was showing everybody on the site was, if there was ever an analogy of anti-establishment, that's it, folks. And what a beautiful analogy of how fucked up this world got through that Jupiter-Saturn cross and through that fear cycle apex. What was so sad was that through the last fear cycle apex, and I don't even know whether any of you are even alive. The image that really typified that fear cycle was these images of these poor Americans being traipsed around downtown Tehran with blindfolds and all that, and just total utter public humiliation of the Americans. And Jimmy Carter was just like an absolute, just an idiot president through all this. And this, sadly, was the hallmark of that particular fear cycle, right? Complete lack of confidence in the system, right? I mean, you really want to be an American citizen in the downtown Tehran here? Oh boy. So interesting how the times have changed, eh? At least it wasn't so bloody this go round. It was just weird. This was such an incredible experience to live through this that thank heavens these days are over. And we're starting to get our sensibilities again. But anyway, I guess I'm getting off topic here. Point of the matter here is I think you're going to see that the US market does much better. The econs coming out of the States are relatively positive. They've gone through the Great Reset. Anytime now, you're kind of like, well, what was the Great Reset? What was that? Well, the Great Reset was this. Basically, everything that you buy, you have to add a zero onto the end of it. That is your Great Reset. I think that the American consumer and really you think the inflation problem in the United States and Canada is bad? Go over to Europe. Oh my God, poor old Stuart. Now they don't even sell fucking eggs in a dozen anymore. He says you can't buy eggs by the dozen anymore because it's just too much money. They sell eggs by like a half a dozen, or I think it's like 8 eggs. So talk about being screwed by inflation. Now you can't even buy a dozen eggs anymore. So anyway, I guess just the point is that United States, we're starting to see the economy itself is coming back online. This whole AI, I think corporate America is doing fine through this. Obviously, there are some problems. The consumer, you've probably seen me post these in the past, right? Help wanted, humans need not apply. Sadly, I think we are moving towards this kind of world, which is really scary. I'm not quite sure who this guy is. That's a video. But we are going to see a lot of difficulty for average Joe six pack in this world. I would imagine. And also, too, and this is the scary part about all this. You find it like Adam. I saw a video the other day about what does San Bernardino look like right now? And why does Oakland look the way that it does? And then I visited Adam just there in the winter, and yet there is just absolutely insane real estate development going on. What the hell is going on? And I think what's happening here, and it makes sense. It took me a while to wrap my head around this, but there is actually huge tax incentives to have inner cities and ghettos, and for them to get worse, not better. I watched a short by Dave Chappelle, and it was on YouTube, and it was a short when he was on Saturday Night Live trying to explain why Donald Trump was as popular as he was, and Clinton and Obama and whoever were saying, well, Trump doesn't pay his taxes, and Trump was like, well, I mean, that's the way the tax code is. I just follow the tax code. And a huge part of the tax code is if you buy property and it depreciates in value, you can use that depreciation to offset gains elsewhere. And if it's a zero sum game, then you owe no taxes. So what's happening is the United States of America itself is becoming like a fast food restaurant, or like where you get your Big Mac and you just toss the fucking container on the ground and everything's littered and it just looks like crap. But that's the way the United States, the fabric of the country, is going, where you develop up a place, and then if it actually starts getting run down, well, that's actually a good thing, because what that means is people can buy that and they can use that rundownness and horrible crime, and the people that live there are drug addicts. And I watched just stunning videos on what was it? It was on Philadelphia. This guy went into inner city Philadelphia and he followed around a guy who was addicted to horse tranquilizers, and just looking at society, and people were like, what are you doing walking around here filming? You're going to get yourself killed. But it actually makes sense. If you think of the tax code, it makes perfect sense. They go and sell, build a whole bunch of new houses. Look around Adam's place there in Sacramento. I couldn't believe how much real estate development is going on. And yet they have full-blown cities that are like literally war zones. It makes no sense at all unless you put it in the perspective of that tax code. Then it makes perfect sense. Terrible. But anyway, that's it. Now I understand why the United States is going the direction that it is. It took me a long, long time to wrap my head around that, but now I understand. So, point of the matter here is, look around Adam's neighborhood. The real estate development there is just insane. The economy is booming down in the States. And of course, all the rich, they've got all these wonderful tax breaks. They don't pay any taxes. It's a great system, I think. Unless, of course, you want a half decent society. That's another conversation. So, consumer getting destroyed here. Absolutely destroyed. Corporate America, 1%. Rich is getting rich, poor are getting poorer. I've always said the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen was for the collapse of the Soviet Union for our Western standard of living. And that's exactly what's happening. I also think, too, that, of course, humans need not apply. The situation is going to get much worse before it gets better. So my suggestion to all of you, you better learn how to, build a better mousetrap. Maybe that's through trading. Guys that I used to learn trading from years ago, they used to call this the one perfect business. So this is a perfect business to get yourself up to speed and really know how to make money from trading. And the good part about it, I clearly demonstrated this over the years. There is no debate to this. We are in a very friendly part of the market. So if you can get your shit together, you can get your trading plan going, you know what your setups are, you know what your reasons are for acting, you understand how to manage money, you understand how to manage yourself, you understand how to manage your behavior, the sky's the limit. You can make tons and tons of money here. And really, over the next year or two, that's exactly what our plan is. We should be swimming in money by the fall of next year. So, anybody want to make some money from trading? Are any of you interested in this? I think that's the whole reason why you're here, right? And, interestingly enough, you tell me. I can't answer this for you. But you tell me, what does this say? And based on what you think this says, will actually tell you how you look at the world. But I can't tell you how to read that. I know how I read it, but I can't tell you how to read it. And I'm telling you right now, opportunity is staring you in the face. Question is, will you take advantage of it? So, I might argue whether it be things like the tech stocks, if you want to use this consolidation period to set yourself up for the future, or, you want to, our crazy old Bitcoin story. I think we're going through a consolidation right now. I wouldn't necessarily call this a bear market. I would actually call this more like we just went through a huge face rip. The public got stupidly overbought there and kind of dumb the way that they were acting, Gucci sweaters and all that crap. So we're going through the process of flushing them out. But if you can think down the road, and this is where it gets really interesting, is, as I said to you, and I've said this to our community repeatedly. I mean, there are some stories here like this hello that's yours interested in. I mean, all of you that follow me, you should look at that chart and go, damn, I can see why that Beamish guy is so bullish. That looks ridiculous. I mean, if it's nothing more than you just banging out a double, which is all the way up here, that's the 50% level. This is where W.D. Gann, one of the oldest sort of market technicians here in North America, would say that this market should go to. That's like 5x from where we are right now. Is it realistic to go and pick up a little bit of this, sell half of it on a double? Then you got a risk-free trade, and who knows where the hell they take this into that 25? It's just that simple, folks. So, I mean, me personally, I even told Stuart, I was like, I'm more than happy. You want to go and buy the shit out of this thing? Load up the boat, beep, beep, beep. Where's that delivery truck? Back her up. I want to buy. And I mean, there are countless names that like this. They're everywhere right now in the crypto space. So the key here, though, is you can't get wrapped up in the names that have already gone. So like here, for example, this is a cute little one. This is one of these funny little memes. But nonetheless, you see all of everything that I teach you guys, whether it be things like wait for the reload zone. I think I had this as a tweet, right? So here's the image, big run up, wait for it to pull back down into the bottom end of range, wait for W's, bullish momentum divergences on these moves here, and then get in there and buy on the W's. Make sure to sell half on a double. Now I've got a risk-free trade. I don't know where the hell this thing's going, but this guy, for whatever it's worth, I don't even know if you know who this guy is. I don't think that's him. I don't know who this guy is, but this ZACK Morris guy, I don't know, is that him? He said that he expects to take his coin to $5. $5? You gotta be kidding me. I mean, it's like what, 10 cents or something like that right now. It's too bad that image is so blurry. But anyway, I guess the point being that, what the hell did I do with that damn chart? Oh, there it is. Yeah, it was 10. I bought it at 4.3, sold at 9 and change. Now I can't get hurt by this thing. If they take this thing to $5, great. This will be worth a lot of money at $5. Maybe that's the only sell that I do. It could be. But the most important thing for me is I got to get that double off. Get the double off, get my original capital back in my hands. If they bring this thing all the way right back down to the bottom, great. I might just reload and do it all over again. But for now, I've got a risk-free trade. This thing can't hurt me. If it goes off the board, so what? But this is basically the type of environment that we're in right now. Try and get as many of these risk-free positions on as possible. And I tell you, into this cycle peak, there's a lot of money to be made. Sadly, of course, if you are punching a clock, if you're unemployed, if you are if you're a renter, you're in like public assistance, that kind of stuff, life ain't gonna get easier here. Life's gonna get a lot harder. The interesting thing about this is most people that watch this video from you people are proactive. You are the people who are going to go out of your way, maybe get a second job so that you have some capital that you can stow away to start investing. So, but the people that can't and that are stuck in punching a clock and can't see beyond the horizon, can't see beyond their next paycheck, man, life is going to get really difficult, which sucks, but it is what it is. I would strongly suggest, though, do not get sucked into this public euphoria stuff. I showed you that Roaring Kitties chart. I think that's his name, right? Roaring Kitties. We got no business. I mean, from a fundamental perspective, there's no value in this stock up here. And I mean, look what it's doing. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. You come in and play in this environment here and you're asking for trouble. You saw the Apple debt numbers. I don't even like to see these kind of debt numbers. And now, interesting, 6 times book. You can see the company's worth $4 a share. You got no business playing in this kind of space, buying here. Remember, I showed you where we bought, or I bought, right? Over here. Okay. If it's right down at the bottom of the range and they're just giving it away, fine. But you can't come in and buy here. That's gambling. This, I think, is smart gambling. Buying here, that's stupid gambling. The odds are actually against you, not for you. And it's a weird sort of way why I'm actually interested in this name. And in fact, actually, this is like a log chart. Look at it on a regular scale. I mean, that's how far it's come down here. And look at this spike here just recently. This was like, I can't even see the numbers. We'll call it 66. And it made it all the way up to 59,000. So that's like 10x right there. All I want to do is just get some off, sell half on a double. Then I get my risk-free trade. And the irony of all this is that this actually shouldn't exist. Mr. Gensler actually scolded Mr. Kramer. Are you sure you're supposed to be doing this, Mr. Kramer, right here? This is hilarious. Like literally halfway through the broadcast, Mr. Kramer publicly said that, you're not supposed to be doing this because these are not registered. And he was even going, yeah, there's some coins with my name on it, right? And all these guys are like, not me, not me, not me. And Gensler's like, well, you're not supposed to be doing that. So just because of that, I have to get some of this on the books. I just have to. All right. Where are we going to go next? We probably should go to those Q&A documents because I'm running out of time here. Okay. Where is the Q&A document? AMA. Are there any? Maybe there are no questions this week and we don't have to worry too much. We don't know. Somebody saying something in the marketing channel. Am I supposed to be saying it? Chris, when I'm gone, can you do me a favor? Josh is asking for when I made that the silver let's say look at the date on the tweet of the silver top. Josh is asking for the time and date stamps for that silver top bark that I did there a week or two ago. If while I'm gone, if you could maybe help him find that in the video, I'd appreciate it. So what was this? This date was, where was it? It was right here. So the original date was May 31st. So it must have been right around there. And I'm going to say, asked Chris to help you find that. All right. Sorry. I just want to make sure that the marketing people, I thought maybe I was supposed to say something here today. Okay. Where is that Q&A document? Where did I put it? It's up here somewhere. Nope, don't look like it. Let's try that again. Do you have access to the marketing room, Chris? All right, cool. Thanks, man. Okay, where was I? So let's go here and then let's go Chris and then let's go AMA. I thought I already loaded this. Let's see, where's it come up? All right, yeah, that's weird. Okay, did anybody ask any questions this week? Let's see what we got here. And FYI, with regard to Bitcoin, I don't really see a hell of a lot going on here right now, so I haven't been really too barky. We have a fun little, actually, I got stopped out of my futures trade, which really sucked. I thought that double top was going to work nicely, but they ran the top and then they dumped the market, the bastards. Also, too, I noticed that the Bitcoin ETF looked awfully toppy there. I wonder whether this had to do with the options expiry. They've been really, really interested about this 27 level recently on the ETF, but I still have on the cash market proxy short. So that's what this is. And that's our little guy here left. If I actually, ironically enough, if I can get another short signal somewhere up here, a new M up here, I think I'd be happy to strap one on, but I got punched in the nose twice last week by these bastards. So I've been a little bit gun shy about the futures, but we still do technically have on this. This is interesting. This one came within $8 of getting stopped out. $8. That's incredible. So they dumped it and then it actually went back in the money. And now they've spent the weekend just firming it back up. And it looks like we want to come back to some sort of trend line confluence here. We got this down trend line, this up trend line right in here. And that aligns with the AB equals CD. And what I think is going on here is that they're just basically have this thing parked at 70 Gs and they're just monkeying around with this level until they really want to get things going. Interestingly enough, I have said all along here that I actually think the tell here right now is more about Ethereum. And it was interesting on Friday how they went and put a top in Ethereum as well. And I did put a tweet out to the effect that, let's call a spade, people. This is what they call an Adam and now an Eve. And M's usually work about 60-70% of the time. So, maybe this is one of the 33%. This was all through that employment report. FA event, was this top tier manufacturer to screw guys like me? Maybe wouldn't surprise me in the futures biz. But this Ethereum top here, as long as that M is still in place, I'm looking for a move to test the bottom end of the range here. And then so you put it all together and the total crypto market, I think what we're really doing here is we're just kind of going sideways. And I put tweets out to the effect that really what I was saying to the public or the the community on Friday was, this looks to me like a narrow sideways channel. And I think that's the market state right now, which is scary because Julian made a comment on Thursday in his broadcast, which I think is actually spot on. And that is that usually they don't end these topping sort of moves on crypto without some sort of big face plant. And the fact that this thing does have an M working, and we have an FOMC meeting coming up. The FOMC, usually what ends up happening is this is the chart that I just tweeted out today. Usually what ends up happening is here we are, FOMC. Usually the market dumps into the FOMC event, finds some sort of bottom, and then counter trend rallies back into the FOMC minutes, and then we roll over following. That's basically what happened over here. So we dumped into the FOMC. We rallied following the FOMC into the minutes release. This was the FOMC minutes. And literally the market stopped rallying on the release of those minutes. Now we're just kind of bumping along sideways. If this should be normal, then we should see this thing pull back and make some sort of low into that FOMC event and then start to rally out the other side. So I'm not really looking for anything to happen here on Bitcoin and crypto. And I might make the argument that those people that were hunting shorts, you can see, people who did trade M's, they got stopped out on this event. This stop, interestingly enough, was actually at new highs here, up here, and that never got tripped up, this breaking of this high here, which is interesting because the futures market, they did trip it up, and that's what stopped me out. So this is still technically working, but you can see it's basically just a scratch trade right now. So I'm not really looking for a huge bull market here in crypto as long as this M is working in Ethereum. And I don't really have an M in Bitcoin just yet. But what I would say is that this original top, which was like a fractal, there were like 5 or 6 different reasons why I liked this short up here. And that's that it came within $8 of hitting that stop and then puked out. So technically this top is still working. And so as a result, that's our little happy little short guy just sitting there, and the trade's just sitting at scratch. But could this thing get stopped out, blown out here? Yeah, market could do any old damn thing it wants. And I wouldn't fault people. I really wouldn't fault people for actually taking the exact opposite attitude and saying, well, there is a bullish setup here working, Brian. And I'm going to look at the glass as being half full, not half empty. So what does that bullish setup looks like? Well, this is the bot. So A to B, remember I showed you that bot setup on the Canadian dollar earlier. Oh my God, made me fucking freak out here. Thank heavens I don't have that much money in Canadian dollars anymore. But this is what that bot setup looks like in Bitcoin. So A to B, C to D. And then if we really start getting going, these would be the alt AB equals CD levels, but bot profit objective. If this is really a bot and it's really a bull, and like I said, and the tweet that I put out here is, I'm not in the business of predicting the future. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. I really don't. And none of you do either. Don't kid yourself. Whatever does happen, it's going to be a far better story than any of us could write. What I'm just going to simply say is we had a narrow sideways channel that developed up top here, and that actually confirms. So there is an active M working here. And as I've said repeatedly over the years, I don't really get bullish on these kind of M's until I see a W on the other side of this trend line. But having said that, if you're like a consummate bull and you're kind of like, well, Brian, I trade with moving averages. You can see how the moving averages rolled over bearish there. Then the moving averages rolled over bullish here. And I've got 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows. There's the bot entry. So I'm long right now. And I don't care if you're shorting against here. I'm long from, what is that, 65,000. And as soon as we hit 74,000, then I get to move my stop to scratch. Right now, my stop is still sitting down at the original stop level, and I'm just sitting there. And literally, what is this daily chart? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. Literally the past 31 days or a month and change, all I've done is just sat long and I've done absolutely nothing. I actually wouldn't fault you for that. What I will say, of course, is that if this smaller narrow sideways channel does confirm to the downside, then my shorts against the top obviously are going to look pretty good. And I would think that if this thing does M out, then your stop, they're going to take a serious run at your stops, right? You can see if this is fog and bomb, and the 200 period moving average align nicely, and that would be my bear target, or basically go after these stops. But I don't know what's going to happen here. Nobody does. And, actually, I put this tweet out earlier, right? Just simply say, look, we're waiting for this range to resolve itself. I don't know which way it's going to go. If you're a bull, great. You're long from the bot. If you're a bear, then you're shorting against these highs. And really, our job right now is we just have to wait and see which direction the market's going to resolve. And I don't know which way it is. I honestly don't, but we're going to find out, aren't we? And that's a trader's life. It really is. Hate to say it. As my old boss, Johnny Hoagland, used to always say, this is the job where you're paid to be uncomfortable. If this is a top and we crank down here, you can see how much risk I'm taking, right? And if I'm right, well, there's my reward. My risk is smaller than my reward. That's what you got to be. If you're a bull and you took this bot long, right? Well, there's my risk and my potential reward is there. My reward is bigger than my risk. That's what it's got to be. And you just got to step up. You got to pull the trigger, got to obey the levels, and you got to live with the results. It's a trader's life. I would even say, I would go as far as to say, for most new people to this game, just let this range resolve. If you see us closing out comfortably at new highs, keep in mind, this is the old high from the last cycle. So really, it shouldn't surprise us that we're sitting here just sort of fighting, deciding, do we really want to be at new highs? Do we really want to be at new highs? If you see the market closing up here repeatedly, then you know that the bull is taken over here. But right now, we don't know. And I would just say probably for like 90% of the public, just let this thing resolve itself and then go and hunt setups. Anyway. Okay, I keep dodging it. What time is it now? I'm running out of time here. I got 15 minutes left. Let's see. Am I going to be bombarded with questions here today, or is it just not that much? Actually, nobody? Is today the 9th? Today is the 9th. Oh, okay. Well, we got 4 questions. All right, here we go. All right. Hi, Brian. You are teaching us to be contrarians. Maybe yes, maybe no. If anything, my rant there that I just said about Bitcoin, what's contrarian here? Is the public convinced that this is a top and we're going down and I'm telling you to buy the bot, which is contrarian? Is the public uber bullish and I'm teaching you to short against the top end of the range? Is that contrarian? Or is the public uber bullish, Gucci sweater wearers, and I've told you just be patient and wait for consolidations and wait for the market to actually start spitting out setups, and now you're long the bot from down here at 65, or whatever the hell number this is, right there, 65 and a half, call that. I don't know whether I'm necessarily teaching you to be contrarian. What I'm really trying to teach you to do is wait for a consolidation in price. Don't go and chase markets that are one directional, either going and buying this market going straight up, or conversely, it wasn't that long ago, half of the people watching this video will remember we were in markets where they were going straight down, and in this kind of scenario, I don't want you to come in and short this or sell down here, because as you can see in hindsight, selling down here, well, that actually turned out to not be a very good idea. So I don't know whether I would call that contrarian or whether I would just say you're really best served to wait for price to consolidate and then take a trade and use the consolidation range to quantify the risk that you're going to have to take on the trade. So I hope that helps. So I didn't even get to your question. I just got to the first few words of your. Anyway, buy when they're crying, selling when they're yelling. Okay, to a certain degree, fine. I would say not necessarily shorting when they're yelling, but taking profits when they're yelling. And that's like that GME. Remember, I showed you that GME. I'm on the sell side, and of course, I'm all pissed off, bastards, because they wouldn't give me my fills. I'm supposed to be on the sell side up here. I should be showing you another sell order that was supposed to be filled here. My order was at 34. You can see they took this damn market to 38. So it's not necessarily like I'm saying short here, but what I'm saying is force yourself to be buying when they're crying. And then when they're yelling and they get stupid, just spoon feed what you've got from down here to them. You want to buy my coins at this inflated price? Okay, twist my rubber arm. So that's the sort of, buying when they're crying, selling when they're yelling kind of thing. That is certainly applicable to someone like Jim Cramer. Okay, I don't know. Jim Cramer is a great fundamental analyst, but this is actually a really good analogy of why I actually fancy myself a technical analyst. Think of like, I hate to say it, and I don't want to put him in the same camp because I don't want to bum him out, but think of like Sjord. Sjord is a really, really good fundamental analyst. Unfortunately, though, and again, Sjord, don't be angry at me for dogging you here on this, but there are some names here that Sjord would if you were just talking in the public, he would be like, oh yeah, this is a totally awesome investment. But as a technician, I cannot come in and buy something like Rend up here. And now look at all these damn M's. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. So no matter how much Sjord likes this name, I can't come in and buy a name that looks like that where it is relative to its range. I just can't. So I hate to say it, but think of Sjord as like a Kramer. Now, Sjord also really loves this name. And I look at this and I go, now this is a chart I can wrap my arms around. So hopefully you can see the difference. Mr. Kramer, and I've seen him repeatedly in the past, repeatedly. Remember, I've been at this game a very long time. I remember when Kramer was just like a guest appearance on CNBC a million years ago. Kramer would probably say, come in and buy that. It's perfectly fine fundamentally. And, fundamentally, I love this thing, but there's no way in hell as a technician I could buy that. And keep in mind, I was selling Luna the whole way up top. In fact, I had a sell order working at $120 on Luna, and it hit 119, and it missed my fill. That's just like the GME. I was on the sell side of Luna the whole way up. Can I get guys like Sjord to sell Luna up top? No, that was difficult. So, all right. So that, I don't know. It's probably not in our best interest to lump Mr. Kramer into our kind of camp right now because he's a fundamental analyst, and it's almost funny whenever he talks technical analysis. He's not. That's not his forte. All right, we should do the opposite of what he is saying. Not necessarily. No, I wouldn't say the opposite of what he's saying. If anything, you want a really good analogy of this, is just follow when there was like a mutual fund that was created that was like the anti-Jim Cramer fund. And it literally took every single bet that Jim Cramer made and took the exact opposite. And it was down. It's down quite a bit. So I would say Jim Cramer, I mean, from a fundamental perspective, he knows his shit. But this is where you learning things like reload zones, learning things like momentum divergence, learning and understanding market structure. This is where you're going to leave Jim Cramer in the dust. He doesn't understand any of this. So keep that in mind. But what about the Financial Times? Is that quantitatively different? How should I best use the information given in there? Do you have to act contrary to the information in there too? Is the information in there worthless, or is there sensible information to be found there? Thanks. Okay, so you keep saying there. Financial Times, is this a specific, is that what, a newspaper? Is that a publication? Is that a person? I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Financial Times, if I just click like that, it's probably going to pull up like a newspaper. Financial Times, news, analysis, and opinion from Financial Times on the latest in markets, economy, and politics. Boom, there you go. Are these the people that you're talking about? Okay. What I'm trying to do here? Who's asking this question? What I'm trying to do is empower you so that maybe there's a name that they're talking about at the Financial Times and they're getting all rah bullish. And then you pull up the chart. Maybe they did like a bullish write-up of GME stock. All right. Well, there's no reason why I couldn't use that as an example. And I want you to look at this stock and say, well, as a good technician, I got no business buying this piece of shit. I learned in TRI's level 1 course that the fundamentals are slightly suspect here. 1,400 times earnings? What the fuck? This is nuts. 7 times book value? I can't buy a name like this. This 305 million shares out? Well, how many shares does Brian like to see on stocks that he buys? Trading with all this debt? Oh God, I can't touch this. And then you should look at the charts, right? And if you want to use TradingView, that's fine. I mean, hell. Actually, here I think I have stock chart here. Probably better. And I'm running out of time, eh? 5 minutes left. Oh God. It's interesting, actually. We were touting this Baba stock, and I had explicitly said, let's wait for the market to do a Wyckoff check and actually check the original double bottom. Well, here we are, folks. Right? In the level 1 course, I'm trying to teach you things like reload zones. So that means that, hey, we're only 61.8, 78.6. You can already see the little diagram that I've drawn here. What letter of the alphabet is that? What I'm really asking you to do here is I'm asking you to be able to make an informed decision of yourselves so that, when this asset looks like this, you go, well, there's no way in hell I can buy that. I'm not allowed to buy up markets. That technically is a bad idea. I'm supposed to be drawing these reload zones. And when we dip back down into reload zones, then I'll buy. Maybe you're an investor and you look at weekly price charts. All right, I buy W's. There's the W right there. In actual fact, geez, that doesn't even look like it's a legitimate W, does it? I would actually argue on something like this, you're probably best served to wait for it to come down, put in a W, and then go. And if you can get that to happen in a reload zone on a momentum divergence, there's your 3-step setup that we're trying to teach you at TRI. So I'm not really trying to tell you to, oh, don't listen to them. Don't listen to that guy. What I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to open your eyes. I'm trying to give you enough tools that you can make an informed decision on your own, that we can empower you. There's that great Del Moody guy. This guy for, I think, probably the past like 4 or 5 years, has sat and watched these free Sunday shows, and he has literally taken notes. He hasn't even taken the education program. So it just goes to show that I give you everything that you need to learn in these free shows. Maybe I should stop doing these goddamn free shows. Anyway, so that you can be empowered, that you can make good investment decisions on your own. And then maybe you look at a chart and you say, well, it's in the reload zone. Turns out that Kramer guy, he kind of likes the fundamentals. Well, if he likes the fundamentals and we have a pretty good looking price chart, and based on the fundamental analysis that I've learned at TRI, these numbers actually look half decent. That's what we call a rational investment idea, right? Fundamentals, technicals agree. That's a rational idea. So whoever asked this question, can you just type in here when I'm out with Liam whether I answered your question? Perfectly valid question. And what I'm trying desperately through this whole experience here, what I'm trying desperately to do is get you to be able to look at the market, look at assets, look at ideas, and make an informed decision for yourself, and not have to lean on people like Kramer for investment ideas. You can actually make good decisions on your own. That's what I'm trying to get you to the point. And sadly, like buying when they're crying, selling when they're yelling. Do you understand that when we were ripping higher like this, and people were the Gucci sweater wearer doofus was out there touting get rich, just buy Bitcoin, and this funny little circle Bitcoin on a whiteboard, and there's $5,000. Thank you very much for your money. That's idiocy. That is what I got to get you to avoid like the plague. If it maybe it's something like just let this market settle down. Let's let Gucci sweater wearers get washed out of the market. Then we start seeing W's come in. All right, away we go. But what you have to do is you got to avoid, and 9 times out of 10, and I started the broadcast off with this, if you ever hear somebody saying, this time it's different, that's your cue that the public is doing the circle jerky. They're yelling, and we as smart, shrewd investors should just leave things alone and just let the dust settle. All right, hope that helps answer your question. What do I got here? Oh, it's 1 o'clock. Oh, Jesus H. Christ. I'll see if I can try and quickly answer. Let's see. Hi, Brian. Can you look at these 2 charts and tell me if I drew MACD and RSI divergences and confirmations correctly? Okay, that's perfect. We'll do that tomorrow in the after party. Chris, if you can remind me to do that. And that's the kind of stuff that I would prefer to do in the after party. I don't want to be doing this kind of stuff on the free broadcast. So Chris, can you remind me to look at this tomorrow? Awesome. Okay, watched a video of Arthur Hayes today, BitMEX founder, talking about the reality, Yellen, talking about in reality, Yellen with the Treasury is in charge rather than the Fed, since she can always strike of 800 MIO of the balance sheets if she feels like it. Okay. Is that a question? I'm not quite sure what you're asking there. The way that I interpret the whole situation right now is if the banks stop lending money to the US government, what happens? Think of Abraham Lincoln and the US Civil War. So there is this fine line. I would actually make the argument that the banksters, as long as they get paid their interest, they are happy to keep this con job of a society going. Rothschild was a bankster. right? He was a bankster. Understand that. I think the question makes as number 4 might be the end of the number 3 question. Okay. Number 4, since we are in a debt-based society, shouldn't we make use of debt credit? I've been on this planet for 54 years. What I have noticed in my 54 years is if you need something, or if the bank needs something from you, there's very little wiggle room. If you need something from the bank, it's a fucking brick wall. So, do you want to live that life? I don't want to live that life. I have lived that life. I have lived the life where I woke up in the morning not knowing what the hell I was going to do about all the debt that was outstanding and how I was going to make those interest payments. It's not a fun life. It's a horrible life. I'm immensely disappointed that our governments have been conned into this. But the interesting thing about governments, and oh, by the way, what color is Janet's hair? What color is Jerry's hair? What color is every, look at Barack Obama when he went into that job and look at his hair color the day that he left that job. Is there a reason why these people look the way that they do? Look at Bill Clinton when he went into that job and look at the way he looked when he left the job. Clearly, it's not a job that you want. I get the impression that literally these people are elected to office, and then day one of their new job, they're sat down with the banksters, and the banksters tell them what the rules of the game are. And if they say fuck you to the banks, like Ronald Reagan tried to do, the banksters try to assassinate you. Ronald Reagan, Abraham Lincoln, JFK, these were all people that tried to tell the banksters to fuck off, and you know what happened to them. There's a number of them. McKinley, you never even hear about. There was one guy, Hayes, I think he was in the office for like 90 days or something like that. Not so much in the 20th century. Kennedy and Reagan were the only ones that told, Hoover told the banksters to fuck off. And look, I'm not going to defend Kramer. I never said I was going to defend him, Mr. Del Moody. So I never said I was a fan. Don't get me wrong. What you should have looked at is you should have looked at the Bear Stearns charts and said, do I see any W's there to justify me buying? Do I see any bullish momentum divergences to justify me buying? Do I see any W's in OBV or MACD or blah, 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 blah? And clearly the answer was no. There were M's everywhere. So I appreciate your comments. I might argue that, I'm running out of time. I got to get out of here for Liam anyway. So I tell you what, we can always circle back around and talk more about this in the after party tomorrow. More than happy to do that. There is an old Jewish proverb, which I find fascinating because pretty much the Jews run the U.S. Treasury. If you look at who's actually been a U.S. Treasury Secretary over the past 50 years, they have all come from one firm. So don't kid yourself. But it's an old Jewish proverb, and I live my life based off this proverb. And ever since I have, my life has been a hell of a lot easier. And it just goes, neither a debtor nor a lender be. My money is my money. Your money is your money. I don't give a shit about your money. I don't give a shit when it comes to finances. I don't give a shit about you. I really don't care. Your life decisions are your life decisions. That's like Hubert Hoover telling all the banksters to go fuck themselves because they were lending money to the public to go and play the stock market, and they all got wiped out. You go and gamble with your money? Fine. In fact, I might even make the argument Joe Biden's a pretty damn wealthy guy. Nancy Pelosi, pretty wealthy. And on the other side of the aisle, Mitch McConnell. These guys, all these politicians are ridiculously rich. Why are they not giving hundreds of millions of dollars to the Ukrainians? If they want to go and donate their own personal net worth, and they have made a lot of money off of being public servants, what a joke. Why are they not giving their money to Zelensky? Why does it have to be the US taxpayer? Where the fuck did that come from? Well, it actually turns out that really this is corporate welfare, that the money that we're giving Ukraine is actually in the form of military weapons, and it's really old military weapons that are just sitting in warehouses doing nothing. And if we give them to the Ukrainians, and we get to kill a bunch of Russians while we're at it, that's a nice bonus. But then the US military corporations can re-invoice the US government to replace all those munitions that were just mysteriously donated to this third world country on the other side of the world. That's what's really going on here, folks. Like you look at the goddamn vaccine and all that. I mean, there is actual evidence that these pharmaceutical companies knew that the ingredients in these vaccines cause cancer. That's horrible. That should be illegal. What happened there? But now it turns out, well, if you get cancer, because these pharmaceutical companies knew that there's probably a good chunk of people that will, you can't do anything because they have all these clauses that say, oh, on top of the fact that we had all this corporate welfare because the governments bought these vaccines, what you see with the military aid is exactly the same thing as with the sickness. It's just a different industry. It's identical. So I don't know how I got off on this tangent, but the point of the matter here is the whole thing's a con job. Don't kid yourself. Jefferson, way back when, he couldn't understand why the US government would go into debt at all. Jefferson, have we ever heard of a guy named Jefferson? Thomas Jefferson could not figure out why the founding fathers were going to let the US government go into debt at all. There should be no debt. That doesn't make any sense at all. Unless this is all about Rothschilds, corporate welfare, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Klaus, you will eat bugs and you will be happy. That's what this is all about. So I might agree with Mr. Hayes, but you have to understand what the game is here. There's a lot of moving parts here. And I would actually argue that the people that are in charge, keep in mind, Janet Yellen comes from the Fed, and the Fed is nothing more than a cartel of banksters. So Janet Yellen comes from the cartel of banksters. It's no accident that she was specifically put in charge of Treasury. Don't kid yourself here. All right. On that note, I have to head off and do my real job here. So we'll pick up this conversation in the Daily Brief after party tomorrow. I would strongly suggest that if you did find value in my rants here today, consider joining TRI. If you need help with getting your shit, whatever you want to call it, together, I don't know anybody else on the internet that provides a better education program about how to build a plan, about how to set yourself up for success, about how to understand the big picture of what's really going on in this world. Do you know anybody? I mean, honestly, Chris, can you turn your microphone on so everybody can hear you? I mean, just give me an honest answer here. Have you ever seen anybody in the public ever show you an image like this?
I have not. And
How about this?
nope.
Have you ever seen anybody in the public ever talk to you about the fear greed cycles? Look how fucking textbook this is.
Only place
Why
on the
aren't,
internet.
pardon me?
I said only place on the internet.
Do you hear anybody in the public talking about what's really going on here? What inflation really is? Poor old Chris. Chris going, I already said no. I already said that.
Oh,
What do you want from me?
I didn't know I was supposed to respond again. Yeah, no. I'd say you're second to none when it comes to this content, to be honest with you.
Thank you, sir. Hugs and kisses. Chris and I, we're gonna go and we've got a date with some crops. Let's put it that way. Right? So
That we do.
if you do want to learn how to do this correctly, come to TRI. This is the place. Hey, Jim and Liz, hey, my buddies. Hey, I'm going to be heading down Southern Oregon here in the next few months. I missed Adam. Adam was just in Washington State, but I guess I have another date. Hey, good to see that you're here so far. Let's see if we're still talking to you in October, November, December. Hang in there, you two. All right. Wish me luck with Liam. Got to go now, literally joust with. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe. I don't even recognize this city anymore. I don't even know where the hell I live here. But anyway, got to go give him an awesome afternoon. So I'm going to let you all go. And as I had said, if you really want to learn how to play this game correctly, come to TRI and we will get you headed in what I would consider a very, very healthy, good direction. And help you build that small business where you actually expect to make money from trading. Hey, Cheryl. Oh, good to see you, Cheryl. All right. Have yourselves a great day. All the best. Hugs and kisses. We'll see everybody, of course, tomorrow morning for regular public rants and after parties. The only thing left for me to say to you good people is bye for now.